Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Ahmed Eid, your chemistry guide, and in this video we're conducting a comprehensive walkthrough for the Edexcel IGCSE Chemistry Unit 1 exam, first modular exam. Our goal is not only provide correct answer, but also we will explain the underlying chemical principles for each question. This approach will help you understanding the questions, understanding the concepts, and apply them effectively in your own exams. Now, please have your exam paper ready so you can follow along. Let's start with first question. As we just mentioned, it's Unit 1 paper, first modular exam. Prepare your paper and start to solve the first question. First question, the diagram represents an atom of an element. Label the three subatomic particles on the diagram. I'm sure that you know that this subatomic particle is considered as electron, so we can write here electron. And also I'm sure that you know inside the nucleus we found protons and the neutrons. Which one is proton? Which one is neutron? Let's see this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons. And I'm sure you know that number of protons is equal to number of electrons. So we have 5 protons. Which one is 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the black circle is 5. So it's considered as proton. And if you count the white circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 6 neutrons. Let's see this part related to what? In studying atomic structure, in atomic structure, number of protons is related to atomic number, and mass number is equal to nucleon number, which is total number of protons and neutrons. So back to the exam. Use the information in the diagram to complete the table for this element. He asks about mass number. As you know, mass number is considered as protons plus neutrons. We have 5 protons and 6 neutrons, so mass number will be 11. He asks about group number. Group number is related to number of electrons in outermost shell. How many electrons in the outermost shell? 1, 2, 3. So group number 3. Number of group is related to how many electrons in the outermost shell. Period number is related to how many shells. We have 2 shells. So the correct answer for period number is 2. Electronic configuration, we have 5 electrons. To write electronic configuration, it will be 2, 3. First shell takes 2 electrons, and second shell will contain 3 electrons, up to 8. Give the name of this element from proton number. As you can see, proton number is 5, so our element is boron. So we write here boron. Let's check the part related to this part in exam. The number of electrons in the outermost shell is same as group number. So group number is the number of electrons in the outermost shell. So if you have whatever, something in group 2, let's say barium, so it contains 2 electrons in the outermost shell. Also the period number gives you the number of occupied shells, or the highest occupied shell. It's like electron configuration 2882. We have 4 electron shells, so it's in period 4. That's related to the first question. So as we just mentioned, period number is 2 because it contains 2 shells. Group number 3 contains 3 electrons in the outermost shell. Mass number is 11, summation of protons plus neutrons, and the electronic configuration 2, 3. And the correct name for this element is boron. Let's start solving question 2. In this question is about metals and non-metals. The diagram shows 4 sections A, B, C, and D of the periodic table. Use the diagram to answer the following questions. First one, element X has melting point of minus 220 degrees Celsius and does not conduct electricity. So it's non-metal. يبقى from this data we concluded that element X is considered as non-metal. Non-metal, this means in the periodic table provided G is considered as non-metal. If you look in this one, you will find that B transition elements A, let's say group 1 and 2, alkali metal and alkaline earth metal. C is also considered as metals. So he asks about non-metal because he told us melting point is very low and does not conduct electricity. Let's check this from our notes. If you look at the differences between metals and non-metals, you will find that non-metals having low melting and boiling point, also non-metals considered as poor conductors of electricity, but except graphite, graphite is considered as good conductor of electricity and used in electrolysis. Next question, element Y has 3 electron shells. 3 electron shells. And the outer shell containing 1 electron, so we can say 2, 8, 1. We are talking about sodium. Which section this element present, or which section of the periodic table contain element Y? Sodium present in section A. So the correct answer is A. Next question, element Z conducts electricity and react violently with water. React violently with water considered as alkali metal. So also we are talking about group 1. Which section of periodic table contains element Z? Also will be A, because alkali metal is present in group 1. Neon is a noble gas. State why neon does not readily react. Because it has a full outer shell of electrons. Let's check this from our notes. Noble gases, group 1. The rate of reactivity of the elements in group 0 associated with the electronic configuration. Noble gases are reactive because the outer shell is full, not in density to lose or gain or even share electrons in a chemical reaction. Next question, lithium and potassium have similar chemical properties. Give another element will have similar chemical properties. We have to search for another element present in the same group as lithium and potassium. So if you back to periodic table, you will find lithium and potassium right here. We can write sodium, rubidium, cesium, francium. So we can write sodium because elements in the same group have same or similar chemical properties. So we write sodium, and let's check back for notes. Let's check this part. Groups in the periodic table contain elements with similar chemical properties, like group 1 contain elements react with the same way. So this part explain what we choose. Elements in the same group have the same number of electrons in the outer shell, so react in a similar way. Next question asks about this part. Explain why these elements have similar chemical properties, and this question was 3 marks. So we have to say that they all in group 1. So all have the same number of electrons in their outer shell, which contain 1 electron. So all these metals must lose the electron in the outer shell. That's the answer for this question. For question 3, a student uses paper chromatography to investigate the dyes in 5 different inks: V, W, X, Y, and Z. The chromatogram shows the results of the investigation. As you can see in the chromatogram, solvent front, start Ryan. As you can see, V, dye V, not move at all. First question, explain why the start line on the paper is drawn in pencil rather than ink. Why we use pencil? Because pencil is insoluble. So we have to write pencil is insoluble. So it would not produce. Take care that question of 2 marks. So it will not produce spots on the chromatogram. So would not interfere with the results. Let's check this part from our notes. Baseline must be drawn in pencil because graphite is considered as insoluble, so it will not interfere with our results. Next question. Explain which 2 inks dye. 2 inks contain the dye is most soluble in the solvent. Most soluble dye in the solvent is these 2 dyes because they traveled the farthest up from the paper. So we are talking about X and Z. So the correct answer, remember also it's 2 mark question, X and Z, as they both have a dye that traveled the farthest up the paper. Next question, explain how the chromatogram shows that W contains 1 dye, only 1 dye, and V may contain more than 1 dye. Let's check W. W containing only 1 spot. So we can mention W produces only 1 spot. For V, let's check for V. He says V may contain more than 1 dye. If you check V, it's not traveled at all. Why it's not traveled at all? Because it's insoluble in the solvent used. So we can mention that V is considered as insoluble. So it may contain more than 1 dye, as it has not separated. Next question, calculate the RF value. Calculate the RF value for the dye W and give your answer to 2 significant figures. When you try to do this, he asks about W. You have to measure the distance to the spot right here, this distance, and also you have to measure the distance to the solvent front, let's say from here to here, and you have to divide the 2 distance. Let's say this part divided over this part. When I measure this part, it's 2.9. When I measure this part, it's 8.5. So you have to divide 2.9 over 8.5. 2.9 over 8.5 is equal to 0.341 176. But in the question, he asks us to give your answer to two significant figures. So you have to keep 3 and 4. 1 will not round 4, so it will give 0.34. That's the answer for this question. Let's check what we did. First, R is the distance moved by solute divided by distance moved by solvent. Number of spots related to soluble compounds, as we just mentioned. Also, as we mentioned, RF is equal to distance moved by spot over distance moved by the solvent. And now we finished question 3. Question 4. A student does an experiment to identify 3 metals, iron, magnesium, and zinc. The diagram shows some of the equipments provided. As you can see, metal with hydrochloric acid and thermometer. Describe an experiment that student could do to identify the 3 metals by comparing the reactions with hydrochloric acid. This is considered as heavy question, 6 marks. So let's check this part first. It's asking about reactions of metal with dilute acid. It's considered as practical investigation. Let's read this practical investigation at the beginning before solving the question. Practical is considered as investigation into the reaction between metal and dilute acid. In this experiment, he set 4 test tubes, but we made 3 in the question. We just put 2 cubic centimeter of hydrochloric acid into each tube, and bought small piece of magnesium, zinc, iron, and copper. In the question, he asks about only 3 metals, magnesium, zinc, and iron. So it's not asking about copper. Into each test tube and observe any reactions that occurs. As you can see, fizzing. If occurs fizzing, correct or trap the gas and check it with right sprint. It gives squeaky pop because it's hydrogen gas. Repeat the experiment with sulfuric acid. It's not the part he asking about. So as you can see, magnesium is more reactive than zinc than iron. We can find this from the bubbles of the gas. Magnesium, as you can see, react vigorously, a lot of fizzing, and the gas produced gives squeaky pop because it's hydrogen gas, and test tube gets hot. We are using thermometer in this experiment, so we can measure exactly the temperature of the test tube. For zinc, it's steady reaction, not as vigorous as magnesium. Fizzing also occurs, not lots of fizzing, and test tube become warmer. For iron, slow fizzing less than zinc. It's less reactive than zinc. In case of copper, will give no reaction. All the reactions considered as exothermic reaction. So let's back to our question and write what we want to do. But remember, you have to make fair test. Fair test like what? Like using the same amount, same mass of metal, same surface area of metal. So let's write the answer for this question. We can measure, as in the experiment, measure specific volume, or let's say 2 cubic centimeter of hydrochloric acid into the test tube. Then use the same concentration of hydrochloric acid. Use the same concentration of hydrochloric acid, not sulfuric acid, to make fair test. What else? Measure the starting temperature of HCl. Measure the starting temperature of HCl. Next, we have to add the same mass of metal in the test tubes. So we can mention add, let's say, 1 gram or 2 grams of metal, each metal, to the test tube. What we measure at the end, we have thermometer, so measure the final temperature in the test tube. What else we will do? We have to compare the temperature change. Compare the temperature change. As we just mentioned, magnesium is more reactive than zinc than iron. So we can say that magnesium should have the highest temperature change and iron the lowest change. You know that zinc will be in between both of them. Next question gives a chemical equation for the reaction between magnesium and hydrochloric acid. We can write it as magnesium Mg plus 2HCl. It gives MgCl2 plus H2 gas. Which of these metals in group 2? We know that magnesium is considered in group 2. Copper, zinc, and iron, all of them are considered as transition elements. So only magnesium is present in group 2. And now we finished question 4. Let's start solving question 5. Question 5 asks about butane. Butane C4H10 is an alkane. Explain why butane is saturated hydrocarbon. 3 marks question. Saturated has a definition and hydrocarbon has other definition. Let's say for hydrocarbon we can say it contains hydrogen and carbon. 1 mark. And only, the letter only is the other mark. Remember that only gives you the other mark. And for define saturated, definition for saturation, it contains only single bond. We can say for this definition, we can say it does not contain multiple bonds, or even we can say double bonds. Let's check for this definition in the papers for alkane. Alkane described as saturated hydrocarbons because they contain only carbon-carbon single bond, no double or triple bond. Also, you have to know that it contains hydrogen and carbon only for the definition of hydrocarbon from other part. Next question, when butane completely burned in oxygen, it gives carbon dioxide and water. Gives a chemical equation for this combustion reaction. Let's write it. C4H10 plus O2 gives CO2 plus H2O. I will give you simple way to balance this equation. You start with carbon, then hydrogen, then oxygen from product. Let's do this right now. We have 5 carbons, so 4 carbons. We have to write here 4 carbon dioxide. We have 10 hydrogens, so we have to write 5 water. Now calculate oxygen as a product. 4 times 2 equal 8, plus 5 times 1 equal 13. 5 times 1 equal 5. 5 plus 8 equal 13. So we can write here 6.5. It is accepted. Fraction is accepted in this balancing for this equation. But if you don't want to write fractions, you can do it right now. Just multiply 2. So multiplying 2, we'll write here 2, 13, 8, and 10. So you balance this equation without any fraction, but as I told you, fractions acceptable in balancing this equation. Incomplete combustion can occur when oxygen supply is limited. One product of the incomplete combustion of butane is carbon monoxide. Give the name of another product for incomplete combustion. We can say carbon. We can say soot, black form of carbon. We can say water. Even incomplete combustion, the final product containing water. State why carbon monoxide is poisonous to human. Because it decreases the capacity of blood to transport oxygen. Let's take a view for these parts in the questions, in the notes. Let's say for the reaction, two reactions of alkane, one of them is combustion reaction. If you have enough oxygen, you will give carbon dioxide and water, and you can balance the equation. For incomplete combustion, you may get carbon dioxide, you may get soot or carbon or soot. Also, you will have water in both cases. For carbon monoxide, it's present in another part which is used as it's toxic. Tell us it's toxic, but it's not in these notes, it's the notes of the first topic. C4H10 exists as two isomers. State what is meant by the term isomers. Isomers have the same molecular formula but different structural formulae. Draw the displayed formula of each isomer. We are talking about 4 carbons, so you can draw it like this: 4 carbon at the same line, or 3 carbons at the same line and 1 carbon branch in the middle one. You have to remember that carbon form 4 bonds. This carbon form only 1 bond, so it contains 3 other bonds with hydrogen. This carbon forms 2 bonds, so it contains 2 hydrogens. 2 bonds, so 2 hydrogens. 1 bond, so 3 hydrogens. For the other one, first carbon, terminal carbon, 3 hydrogens. Second carbon, this one, we are talking about the carbon in the middle, 1, 2, and 3 bonds, so only 1 hydrogen. This carbon, 3 hydrogens. This carbon contains 3 hydrogens. Let's check the part that I told you about carbon monoxide and about isomers. Just 1 second. For carbon monoxide, formation of carbon monoxide from incomplete combustion of hydrocarbons, which is considered as very dangerous. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, very poisonous gas. Carbon monoxide is poisonous because it reduces ability of blood to carry oxygen around the body. We call it silent killer because it may make you ill or even make you die because not enough oxygen gets to the cell, into the body for respiration to provide energy. Also, when we talk about, let's say, isomers, just a second. What is meant by isomers? Structural isomers, molecules have the same molecular formula, but different structural formulae. As you can see, isomers for C5H12 pentane, we have straight chain, we have branched chain with 1 branch or even with 2 branches. So we finished question 5. See you in the next question. Hello everyone, back to solving Question 6 from Unit 1, first modular exam for IGCSE or rather Edexcel. Calculate the amount in moles of nitrogen in 70 grams of nitrogen gas. At the beginning, we have to calculate MR. MR for nitrogen is equal to 28, 14 times 2. So number of moles will be equal to 70 grams divided by 28. You remember that number of moles equal mass over MR. So it will give 2.5 mole. He didn't ask you to show your working. So if you write the final answer only, you will get the 3 marks. Ammonia is a compound containing nitrogen and hydrogen. Calculate the relative molecular mass of ammonia. Nitrogen 14 from periodic table plus hydrogen 3 multiplied 1 from periodic table equals 17. So also if you write 17 without working, you will get the 2 marks. Next question. Nitrogen reacts with hydrogen to form ammonia NH3. This is the equation for the reaction. N2 gas plus 3H2 gas gives 2 NH3 gas. Calculate the mass in kilogram of hydrogen. He asks about mass of hydrogen needed to produce 5.10 ton of ammonia. Give your answer in standard form, scientific notation. At the beginning, we have to calculate mass of ammonia in kilogram. He just mentioned 1 ton is equal to 1000 kilogram. So 5.10 multiplied 1000 is equal to 5100 kilogram. Then you have to calculate moles of ammonia. Just by dividing mass over molar mass, 5100 divided by 17 mR of ammonia, we just calculated in the previous step, so it's 300 moles. Now you have to calculate number of moles of hydrogen from the equation. We have, as you can see, we have 3 moles of hydrogen gives 2 moles of ammonia, so 300 moles of ammonia, just cross multiplication. So moles of hydrogen is equal to 300 times 3 divided by 2 is equal to 450 moles. Now he asks about calculate the mass in kilogram of hydrogen. Mass of hydrogen is equal to 450 multiplied 2 equal 900 kilogram. He wanted to be written in a standard form, so we will write it as 9.0 times 10 to the power 2 kilogram. For the next part, the reaction produces 3.65 ton of ammonia instead of 5.10. Calculate the percentage yield of ammonia. Percentage yield is calculated by dividing actual yield divided by theoretical yield multiplied 100. So 3.65 divided by 5.10 multiplied 100 is equal to 71.56862745. But he asks to give your answer to 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place, so we need to keep just this 5. 6 increase 5, so it will be 71.6. Question 7. A teacher investigates the effect of temperature on the solubility in water of barium nitrate, BaNO3 by 2. The teacher records the maximum mass in gram of barium nitrate that dissolves in 100 cubic centimeter of water at different temperature. The table shows the teacher's result in temperature 0, 5 grams in temperature 20, 9.1 and so on. Plot the result on the grid. One of the results is anomalous. Draw a ring around the anomalous result and draw curve of best fit. Let's do it one by one. Let's say we have to draw the curve, plot the results on the grid. First one, at zero temperature, it's 5 grams of barium nitrate, so we can write it here, 5. Temperature 20, 9.1, right here. Temperature 40, 14.5, right here. Temperature 60 at 20, right here. Temperature 80 at 30. And for temperature 100 at 34. 34 right here. So if we draw curve of best fit, let's try to draw curve of best fit. We can do it like this. And the anomalous will be this one. So he asks about plot the result on the grid. Okay, we did it. One of the result is anomalous. Draw ring about it. We did it. Draw curve of best fit. We did it. Okay. Next question. He told us use the graph to determine the mass of barium nitrate at 50 Celsius. At 50 Celsius. Let's try it. At 50 Celsius, right here, we can get 17. As you can see, here is 17. So we can write 17 gram. It's accepted from range 16.5 to 18, or accepted. But as you can see, we found it as 17 grams from the curve. Next question. Next part. Barium nitrate dissolves in water to form solution. Describe the change in arrangement, movement, and energy of the water molecules when the solution is heated to the boiling point. If you heat water, so water molecules gain kinetic energy. So it moves faster. Molecules become farther apart, move apart. Then the water molecules escape to form a gas. Next part. The element barium has many isotopes. State what is meant by the term isotopes. Isotopes containing same number of protons and different number of neutrons. Next one. Sample of barium contain these 3 isotopes. Calculate the relative atomic mass of this sample. We have to multiply the percentage, 12 16.0 multiply mass of the first isotope plus 16.0 multiplied 137 plus 72.0 multiply 138, all of this over 100, so you'll get 137.6. So the answer will be 137.6, and the answer can be accepted without working because he didn't mention or he didn't ask you to show your work. See you in the next question. Question 8. Pylons are used to support overhead power cables. The photograph shows an example of pylon. Suggest why steel is used to make pylons. We use steel because it's strong. Next question. Overhead power cables are used to transmit electricity and are supported by pylons. The table shows some information about power cables made from copper and power cables made from aluminium. Copper and aluminium, both of them appear to conduct electricity. Good. Mass of 100 meter in kilogram, 160 kilogram for copper and 48 kilogram for aluminium, because aluminium have low density. Cost $7.4 for copper and aluminium 1.25. Use the information from the table to comment on the use of copper and aluminium in overhead power cables. We choose aluminium. Both of them got conductors, but aluminium has lower mass or even lower density, and aluminium cables easier to support because it's not heavy, and aluminium cables will be cheaper. So we can write it as both are good conductors of electricity. Aluminium has a lower mass, or even we can say lower density, because mass over volume is equal to density. Aluminium cables are easier to support, not heavy. Also, aluminium cables are cheaper. Copper and aluminium are used to make many useful objects other than overhead power cables. For each metal, give one other use and the property important for this use. Copper used in water pipes. As it has low reactivity. Aluminium used in aircraft bodies, as it has low density. Let's start to solve question 9. This question is about ammonia. Nitrogen reacts with hydrogen to form ammonia. N2 plus 3H2 gives 2NH3. The table gives some bond energies. Bond energy for nitrogen, breaking nitrogen, bond energy for hydrogen, bond energy for NH. Use the equation and the data in the table to calculate the enthalpy change delta H in kilojoule per mole. Include a sign in your answer. Let's start to calculate. Remember that he asks about sign. Let's start to calculate bonds broken. From the equation, let's check the equation. we broke one bond between nitrogen and 3 times between hydrogen. So for nitrogen, it's 944 plus 3 times 436 is equal to 2252 kilojoule per mole. Bonds made. Let's check for bonds made. We have ammonia, NH3, NH, H, and H times 2. So it's 6. So we can say 6 multiplied 388. It will give 2328 kilojoule per mole. Delta H is equal to bond broken 2252 minus bond made 2328. It will give minus 76. So you have to write it as minus 76 kilojoule per mole. No working required, but if you make incorrect sign, if you write it as positive 76, you only score 2 out of 3. Explain in terms of bond broken and bond made why this reaction is exothermic. The reaction is exothermic because more energy is given out when the bonds are made than is taken in when bonds are broken. Next about, complete the energy level diagram for exothermic reaction by showing reactants and the products. We just put line right here, for example, and another one right here for exothermic reaction. Here we write N2 plus 3H2, 2NH3 as a product, and for this part, delta H is equal to minus 76 kilojoule per mole. We can do it as arrow. A cylinder contains 4.6 mole of ammonia gas. Calculate the volume in cubic decimeter of gas at room temperature and pressure. Volume of gas is equal to number of moles multiplied molar volume. But take care, he wants the volume in cubic decimeter and he gives the molar volume with cubic centimeter. So number of moles 4.6 multiplied molar volume 24,000. We can do it in one step by multiplying 24 divided by 1000 to convert from cubic centimeter into cubic decimeter. Working is also not required in this question. The answer will be 110.4 cubic decimeter. Remember that we divide over 1000 in this question to convert it from cubic centimeter to cubic decimeter. And now we finished solving this exam. That concludes our detailed walkthrough of the Edexcel IGCSE Chemistry Unit 1 first modular exam. We hope this session has not only provided you with correct answers, but has also deepened your understanding of the essential chemical concepts. Remember, a strong understanding of these fundamental principles is the key to success in your studies. For more resources and exam preparation, even materials, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and we wish you the best in your examinations. Goodbye and good luck.